I'm Jim Czek. I'm here with Liz Sage at Team Fitness, and today we're going to work on balance.
We're going to work on balance.
Yep. I need balance.
We all need balance.
That's right.
We need to balance our checkbooks.
Balance everything. Balance life.
A balanced life, precisely. Okay.
Maybe I'll balance it when they put you under. Get some balance then.
There's that.
Rest. Get rest then. No, I'm ready to go.
You ready to go?
I'm ready.
So the first thing I'd like to do is see how you walk downstairs.
Just walk downstairs?
So you're going to walk up my stairs, and then I'm just going to see how you come down the stairs.
Sure.
So let's follow Jim up the stairs and see how he comes down. That's pretty good. Just turn around there. We'll come back down. Yeah, so stop, stop, stop. Okay, I just want to watch for a second. Okay, down we come. Let's watch his feet. Okay. All right, so the reason why we're doing that is we're trying to see what you do with your feet when you come downstairs. And you, like most people, not all people, will turn their feet out when they walk. And when you stand, just stand regular, yep, you tend to stand with your feet out. Okay, so that's not how we really are meant to be. So we're going to try to get you to think a little bit more around flexibility in your ankles to help you. And that's typically what's the challenge for people is they have really tight calves, stiff ankles, right? They don't have a lot of range of motion in their ankles. Sometimes that comes from injury. They've hurt their ankles in some way. So what we can do is we can get you on the stair here. And what we're going to do is just sort of see what kind of flexibility you have in your ankles. So your heel's going to be back against the stair, okay? And then you can just use the stair for balance. You can stand on one foot, keeping your heel down. You're just going to keep your foot straight, okay? So that's typically where you want to go. We want to keep straight. And then we just want to go down and try to keep our heel anchored on the floor. So that's how we'll see.
Do that.
Let's see how we do.
I think I can do that.
Okay.
So I'm going to keep this foot back here.
Yeah.
And we're going to go down.
Okay, so see how your heel's coming up?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay,
yeah.
So rather than coming forward, and we're looking at his knee as well, so rather than coming forward, sit back and put your leg out. So sit back, and then there you go. So see how now you can keep your heel down a little bit more? Okay, and now just see if you can track this knee instead of it coming inside your foot.
Okay.
Try to track your second toe. So open up your hips a little bit, track your knee. There you go. Okay, so that's a simple exercise that you can do to help and see how this
different muscle movement.
Yeah, so see how this muscle pops out right here. Okay, so that's going to help you track your knee better. Good for knee health. But back here. So we're watching this heel, so it's not coming up. Sit back, and you can feel the tightness in your calf in doing that. Okay, so it's gonna help with dynamic range of motion in your ankle. It's also gonna help you get stronger. You can see the differences between sides. Do you feel tighter on this side?
Yep,
yeah,
definitely went in more.
Yeah, we can see that, right? So your heel's coming up again. So remember to sit your butt back. Better, okay? And then tracking, activating those hips a little bit. Nice, okay. Yeah, so that's just a little mini exercise you can be doing, but other things that you can do to help increase the flexibility, range of motion in your ankle are just some simple stretches and range of motion movements. So let's use the step again, and we can do some toe raises to kind of help two things. One, we can work on strength. Okay, but rather than going out with the ankles, we're going to try and go straight up onto the second and first toe, right, rather than going this way. And then down, just to slightly below level. We don't want to go all the way into a full stretch because then the muscle is lengthened and then we're trying to strengthen. So we want to go below the step slightly and then drive through to the big toe and then back down just below. Okay. So that's one we can do that helps range of motion, so mobility in the ankle, but also helps build strength. And again, we're trying to have the toe and heel straight so that we're not bringing the heels, letting the heels slide in. And try to feel your big toe. So roll inwards a little bit more when you come up on your toe. That's better. So see how you can have a more level heel foot or heel toe, straight foot. Yeah, and we're not getting too low, but we are going slightly below. Nice. And you can keep your knees soft. They don't have to be straight. Yeah, so a very simple thing you can do. You can also just do this when you're brushing your teeth. You know, just up and down. You don't have to go below.
The elevator.
Sure, elevations sounds great. You brush your teeth
Yeah.
twice a day.
Just kind of flex your calf.
Morning and night, yeah, and if you have to hold the counter, but if you try to do that just on your own without holding something, it requires what?
Core.
And balance,
Yeah.
right? Okay, so, and doing it in your bare feet, is sometimes even better because you can feel the dexterity of all of the toes and so on. What we're hearing now is that the foreleg is quite weak in our aging population, and that is what's causing also people to fall, right? And so we need to concentrate on making sure that when we strengthen other parts of our body, that we're not ignoring the foreleg, right? So we want to bring that into play when we're working out. So stretches for the calf are just those long calf stretches. You have two muscles in your calf. You have one that crosses the knee and the ankle, and you have one that crosses just the ankle. So the one that crosses both, we want to have straight through to the hip. And then if we just bend the knee, we're now just getting the lower one and a little bit of the Achilles tendon as well. All right, so that one does one, and this one does two. Yeah. Yeah, we can put our foot up on things as well to stretch this way and come in to stretch a little bit that way as well. That's going to stretch that muscle, right? So having nice movement in our ankle and range of motion helps us with our balance, right? So we want to be strong down here. We want to be mobile in the ankle, so that lets us do some of these other exercises.
I used to fly a lot for a job.
Like flying?
Like airplanes?
Airplanes, yep.
And I would get cramping in my calves.
Yeah.
Just after a flight, sometimes it would just lock up.
Knot up.
And then, it's obviously very painful.
Yes.
Trying to get it to straighten out.
Yeah. So like Charlie horses kind of thing,
Yeah, it would just cramp and then it would just hang on, so
Yeah.
you just couldn't move it.
Often that can be dehydration as well. So if you're susceptible to muscle cramps at night, make sure you're hydrating really well through the day.
It all kind of disappeared after I stopped doing all that flying.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, maybe just the elevation. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so again, supple ankles is going to, and a strong lower leg is going to help us with our balance. And then just strength training in general, we are moving through ranges of motion where we actually are going to increase the range of motion in our joints because we're moving through them, right? But one of the things that can be really helpful for us is to be able to get into, a low position like so, but not with our turned out feet. So trying to keep those feet here, yeah. And so it's harder to do, right? To get down there. And there's a little test that people can do to see if they can get into this position for 10 minutes. So, and stay in it. And a lot of people just can't. And so you see how you're on your toes here? Try to sit back onto your heels. Yeah. Okay. So you want to be able to practice that. And how you can practice it is you can hold on to something, okay, and just try to be able to get yourself. No, straight. Turn your heels out again because you got that duck foot going on. Yeah, the duck foot going on, right? And then you also want to try and work on that nice flat back as well, right? Yeah, so that can help. You can use, a tie around something like, a band, a belt, anything at home where you can put it around something. And then
hang on to it?
Yeah, you just hang on to it. And there. You can also start with something that's a little bit higher if you can't get down there. So you just start here, and you're just working on this flat back.
Here for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so it helps you be able to eventually, be able to come down into here. All right, so it takes work. But little kids, like when you see, like my little people, they're, just straight down.
Yeah,
we've all been there at some point in time and straight back up. Nice, they got a perfect squat. So it's quite impressive. Okay, so let's move on to thinking about how we can sort of test our balance as well. So one of them is just standing on one leg, right? So we're just going to get onto one foot and just pick up a foot and see like where you balance, okay? All right, so you can feel the ankle is starting to move around. Yeah,
wobbling, huh?
exactly. And then you settle in and you bring in some core activation as well. Relax. So what I'd like to encourage people to do is to always be thinking about their spine first, so that they're not kind of like doing this when they lift up. Yeah. So the first thing you do is you squeeze your butt cheeks, and your back will straighten out a little bit. It doesn't have to be like a tilted pelvis, but just squeeze and your back just kind of neutralizes. And then your rib cage, which can be up, you just want to brace it down and then brace your abdominal muscles at the same time. Yeah. And then they're just going to lift the foot up, and then they're going to brace, and then they can use their hands, right, to balance their way off. And so they could just sort of test and see like what's happening in my shoe, or they could be in bare feet and see kind of where their weight is going to. We want to spread our toes out in our shoes, keep everything activated. And if they find that they're having trouble balancing, squeeze everything tight and see if that helps them stabilize and have better balance. And it typically does, okay? Then, we want to see the difference between sides, okay? So again, same thing, we're squeezing the glutes, bracing through the trunk, and then picking our foot right off the floor. Yeah. And do you notice that you're more balanced on one side than the other?
Better.
That's better for you. Okay, are you left side dominant?
No.
No, okay, all right, interesting. So.
I say that and then I start wobbling.
Okay, so that's just like
it felt easy.
Yes, very simple test. And then if you take the visual away and you try to stand without any visual, you can see how you grip the floor with your toes, and you can balance.
Definitely a lot harder.
A lot harder, yeah.
Way harder.
Yeah. So, do this with some support. Make sure there's nothing around you. But again, these are just sort of feedback loops to see how well you are doing now, right? Oh, it is hard without the eyes, yeah. But again, if you set yourself up and you squeeze the glutes, drive the ribs down, and brace the abs, and then you start with it up and you squeeze those feet to the ground, and then you take.
It's easier because you should be like Zen there.
Yeah, no. As soon as you take visual away, of course, it's going to be a lot harder. Okay, so we can use a single leg to now start to activate a little bit further the imbalance. So throw imbalances or forces on us to help us practice and challenge ourselves. So again, you can do this in bare feet or shoes, but bare feet is a lot more sensory to the floor. So you're in the balance position, and then you're just going to reach in different directions, and that's why we have this little thing on the floor, so we can kind of move ourselves around. So you can do it very controlled here, and then eventually you are trying to, make yourself ninja-like, right? And we often do, squats and deadlifts and things like that nature, where they have to reach for a dumbbell here and come back up, and you're working the leg in its entirety, but you can feel the foot just really activated, and those muscles of the feet coming into play. So go this way. So here, yeah, and there, and then back around again. Yeah. And then you want to stretch them as long as you can. So you're really taking, and you want to go all the way around to different places. Yeah, without stepping. So without putting your weight on. So all your weight's going to be centered onto one foot. Yes. Okay, and now let's put a weight out in front of you so that when you go down, you are going to
pick it up.
You're not going to pick it up, but you're going to go down and you're going to reach for the bottom of it,
Okay.
and then come back up, and then back down. So again, balance into play. So before you go, let's squeeze the glutes. Let's activate the core. So squeeze the glutes, activate the core. Yeah, and then just start with the foot up, and then just like you're going to do a straight leg deadlift, so the leg is behind you, reach with this hand. Yeah, and then reach as far as you can. There you go. and then back up.
Definitely better with tighten everything up, right?
Yes, so again, squeezing everything together, super helpful.
Way better.
Nice, yeah. Let's try the other leg and see if there's a difference between sides. Stronger your muscles in one leg, you're gonna be better at balance. And that's the whole thing about building strength in your body, is it really just allows you to, and you don't even realize that you have better balance when you're stronger, but you absolutely do. And before we went on air, you talked about, you missed a step, not long ago, and you caught yourself and you were able to balance yourself and catch yourself, whereas often people miss a step and it's like, they're flat down. I remember a couple years ago, I was coming out of my house and it was pretty slick, and I had on, I didn't have running shoes, I had like a boot on, which was a flat boot, and I went up, and I thought it was over. And I really did. And I somehow landed on the first step of the stairs going down and the top step, and I was just like, whew, okay. I was like a ninja cat. I'm like, look at me go. But
especially on a step and crack your head, right?
yes, yeah, like it was a wooden, porch, but nonetheless, I saved myself. I managed to save myself. But again, so we can protect ourselves by having, obviously strong legs, but a strong foreleg, and just these little things that we can play around with in our workouts when we're warming up. We can do it while we're brushing our teeth. You can mess around when you're brushing your teeth. It's not a lot of, effort, but it just, brings into these little playful actions. Okay, so. And then other things that we can do is just even walking on our toes. So in your warm-ups, you can just like walk on your toes, build up that calf strength, and then also walking on your heels, forward and back, and so on as well. All right. When we get to the point where we are finding that we have built some balance, strength combination, we can also do some work with bands, whereby we add some tension to side lift, and we're trying to balance. So we've got activation of our glutes and quads, and then we can also bring them around. But more than anything, it's the outward phase here that we're actually working on, right? So, and then practicing on going from side to side, because when you repeat one side, you really settle in to the groove of this
like you're kind of like
position, right? Yeah, but when you come in and come back and have to reset and go to the other side, it challenges you just a little bit more. This isn't very tight, this band, so, which we want to start with just really light tension. We don't want to do a lot in terms of getting it too tight to activate. So go just a little below the knees, yep. And then you want to have it close enough whereby it still stays on your legs. Yeah, and so glute squeeze, ribs down, abs activated, and then up and down and up. And your knees are just soft. You don't want to lock anything out. So a little straighter when the leg lifts sideways, so you don't let the band go up. And you don't want to go too far, because then the band's just going to rip up top. And then you can make a greater tension in that band as you get stronger. And again, you're always thinking about your spine, right? Because you don't want to be sloppy in your lifts with that rounded spine. You want to squeeze the glutes, straighten out that spine, and then be nice and tall in your posture as you do it. There we go. And again, if you can feedback with the mirror, you can see when you set your feet down, you're setting your feet like this instead of this. And these are just the patterns that you've developed over the years with your body. And so we can actually retrain those neural pathways by helping to strengthen our hip and knee and ankle joints. But we can't do that if we're not paying attention, right? So we want to definitely get an idea as to what we're doing in the first place. And so, just having someone watch you or videotaping your walk, you'll be able to see. And also, like, just when you get off of a seat, so say you're sitting down, you can tell, and I often see this when I get people to stand up from a bench and they do this before they get up instead of that, right? So they're opening, because they sit like this, right? And so, you know, we want them to be thinking about getting up this way or that way as opposed to turning out when they come up. So again, just awareness, yeah. And you're not thinking about it when you get out of a chair, but you actually, if you want to change it, you have to be noticing. Yeah, for sure. Okay, and then there's lots of little tools that we can use to help put us off balance so that we can work on balance. And you can get, these are sit-fit cushions, and you can get small little round ones that are no bigger than the size of those little weights on the floor. And those ones, and they're the same material as this. So these are these little domes, and you can step on them and step back off and so on. So these kinds of things are putting us off balance, and then we want to be able to stand on them, right? So we can use them just together as a stance, right? And we can move back and forth, right? We can squat on them. We can come up on our toes on them, right? And we can walk back and forth on them. So just feel how that feels. And we want to encourage, once people get to a point where they're pretty good at balancing, you know, on surface, a hard surface, and they get really good at their squats, that we can take them up on things to challenge them a little further for their proprioception. Yeah. And then you can just take one. So if you've been on the floor with one now, you can just use one with that balance with your foot. So centering, okay, bracing, squeezing, okay, and then bringing your weight up and trying to balance on a single leg. Now, the thing about using these kinds of things is if you have, you know, some challenges with your ankle, you know, and you're weak in ligaments or you've had bad strains and so on and so forth, you don't want to be going to this until you've firmly gotten that base. Totally, yeah. And you always want to do things like this if you're new at it and you're not being necessarily coached with somebody right beside you, that, you know, you have a wall close by to give you a little bit of help to balance you. And then so put them together and then just try a squat from there. So when we're on an uneven surface, we have to think about where our body weight goes now, right? Yeah, so you have to challenge. Yeah, and again, when we look at your feet, right, your heels want to turn in, and we're trying to get those feet to be, and in your case, you don't need to have a super wide stance because your hips aren't super wide. But the more inflexible you are, inflexible. In the ankle, often the wider your stance will be to help you get to a full squat. Yeah. Bigger base for balance, but a wider base to get yourself underneath you, like to be able to squat underneath properly. But you can see how that offers a different proprioception. And then, of course, the BOSU is a popular tool. And again, we can use this. So the more air in the BOSU, the harder it's going to be. So again, you can do single leg work, and you can do your taps back and forth. You can do your reaches, spine first.
My daughter could actually jump on a round ball and see.
Like a big stability ball?
Like a round ball. Like jump up on it and then stand.
Like one of those?
But the spongier one though.
Oh, a spongier
more
one.
like this one.
Yeah. Okay, so this is a little less air in it, so it's a little more stable with less air in it. Okay, and so again, you're going to work on your balance. Okay, and try to, just do things that are going to force you to work differently on the base. Yeah, so you can see how much your foot's actually working on that, right? Yeah. And then we can also use the other side of this. And so this becomes more stable on the upper surface, but less stable on the under surface but this actually, for some people, can feel better than the other way, right? So less Less stable on the bottom, more stable on the top, all right?
Because it's flat on this side.
Yeah. And as we approach the ski season, this is a cool little tool. You can feel it. Well, that's because under here there's less surface touching, and so it's going to offer more resistance unless you dial in your tension through your torso as well, right? And then 2 feet. So if we got 2 feet on, same thing. We can circle our balance back and forth, right? We can come in and around, back and forth. We can squat all the way down, and so on, right? So less stable, more stable.
Which is more stable?
That's more stable. Let's try that. Yeah.
You're going to catch me.
And so jumping is pretty aggressive, so you can go 1 foot
Let's start here.
and then back on top,
Let's start.
like so, yeah. And try and cover those little grooves so you're a little wider based. So make sure you're on it, yeah. Here we go. That's it. Yeah, okay. And then back and forth. So keep your both knees a little softer. Yeah, and then go, exactly, and then go a little lower. We do this as a ski exercise, and then drop to one side in that stance. And then back to the other side in that stance. So try not to come up out of it. Yeah, it's a great little exercise for the ski season coming up. Yeah, but you can feel your ankles are trying to stabilize. Feet are getting grippy. Your toes sometimes curl under for balance.
Pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So again, another tool we can throw into the mix. And then we have tools such as the actual balance boards. So we have round ones, and you don't always have to just have upper body, lower body. We can actually work some upper body imbalances for core exercises, where you're just, you're working on rocking. You can do this on the BOSU that we just used as well, okay, and doing push-ups, in something that's rocking back and forth as well to offer resistance there. Okay, give that a whirl with your push-up. Yeah, so keep your body straight and just drop side to side. Yeah, without twisting your hips. Yeah, so you actually rock. You rock. So not twisting, rock. The whole body rocks with you. Yeah, back and forth. There you go. And then a push up. Yeah, balance. So you see how you got sort of stuck there and you held yourself and then you pushed yourself out of it. So that's where, the journey is the exercise, not just the actual push-up that you go up and down.
That's actually pretty good.
The in-between, yeah. And then this little one we can use a little different because it's got a round ball underneath. So we're trying to find our centered balance position and try not to have any touches on the bottom. So we go back to legs. So get your whole foot on there, yeah. And then you got to get centered, right? So squeeze your glutes, rib cage down, brace your abs, and then give it a go.
Little disco.
Little disco twist. And then we have the same thing on here. So the taller you are, longer the leg, the wider the base of support. So you can literally stand, this wide, or you can come in a little bit more narrow. And this has lateral, but it also has a little bit of forward. It's a little bit, okay? And so again, you're trying to not touch the sides and keep your balance. And you can throw in potentially, haven't been on here for a long time, some squat action in there where you can come down and squat and try to balance and come your way up.
That looks like many lessons in.
Yeah, you gotta practice, like anything, you want to get good at something, you gotta practice. There you go. Good. You can use that forward and back motion.
The tendencies I do want to kind of like flare, right? So.
Yeah. Yeah, and you do want to make sure that you are even distance from the center, right? So you don't want one foot to be further out than the other. And because you don't have big hips, bring your feet in a little closer. Surprisingly, it can be, you think it would be easier because it's a wider base of support, but yeah, and again, activate your core, get it involved, and typically we are a little better at things.
It'll just take some time, yeah.
Yeah, now look at your feet again. Everything's sliding out, and you're also closer in on one foot than the other, right? And we have, you know, some activation this way as well, right? So you can try to play around with that. I just came across, it's called a gib board. It's a board that kind of looks like a snowboard, but it tips up, and it's not too long, and it has a slack line. It's got a mini slack line attached to it, and you practice slack line work. Yeah, so I
was never
want to get my hands on that. So try to center your weight down the middle, and this is harder to do in this position, clearly, for both of us. But again, anything that you want to accomplish, you throw something like this in front of the TV, and you see it, you do it, right? Okay, so the whole thing about balance is you have to put yourself off balance in order to build your balance and create the strength that you need to stay upright, you know, strong, balanced, and increase your proprioception and your kinesthetic awareness. It just doesn't happen. Although the stronger you are in your legs and your glutes, the better you're going to be at balance. So again, just strictly doing strength work to get stronger is going to help your balance and catch you when you get thrown off balance. You're going to have much more ability to have resilience against that force that got you off balance in the first place.
As we age, obviously, could lead to the rest of your life being
for sure.
Really bad.
Yeah. So I read recently that the third most important organ of the body are the legs, are the quads, right? And that's because of mobility, right? So once we lose our mobility and our ability to get somewhere on our own power, we can really start to decline in terms of our physical capacity and emotional capacity.
The thing about hips, if you break a hip, usually it's not a good thing for the rest of your life.
That's right, and especially at a particular age. So, you know, over the age of 60 and 65, it can be a very severe decline after someone falls and breaks something. Yeah, and it's easy to do. And then we talked about those little small little domes that are like this material, but of this size. You can actually, you know, try to balance on them, and then try to come back onto them. These are a little wide. Come back off them and on them, so that you're going in different directions, right? And trying to balance with things. Kind of make your little.
What was that game called? Connect or something?
I don't know that game.
Twister.
Oh, Twister. Yeah. Great game. Great game for balance. For sure. We used to play that as kids all the time. Yeah. And then you just force yourself to be on one and just tap and come back. Right? So it's like, you know, go to the creek, walk some rocks, you know, see a curb, balance on the curb. Like there's things right in our own backyard that we just walk past, and, you know, kind of have a playful attitude around the environment that's around you. And I think that's the one thing about throwing things into your workouts that are, you know, not traditional. You know, they go a little bit outside the lines of.
We go fishing as kids, and when you go in the waters down in the big creeks or whatever, and then all the big rocks and stuff like that.
Yeah. So there's all kinds of things you can do.
Smashed my head, 12 stitches.
On the rocks?
I jumped to a big rock, but it had moss on it, so
okay.
Slipped.
Big sliders.
Not good.
Yes. And then there are tools like the stability ball and the BOSU, you can be on those as well. Just doing exercises on the ball, seated, kneeling, even using it as a bench. So balancing and keeping your foot up and, doing overhead presses or lateral raises, to try and incorporate an unstable movement where you have to engage your core.
Regular exercises, just kind of incorporating like the BOSU ball.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, so we could walk down on this and use this as a bench. Okay, so we're on it as a bench, and then we have our...
For like flies or something like that.
Yeah, we can go here, we can go here, we can go here, work on core, can do all kinds of things with it. And then another balance exercise that we can do is actually going on our knees. Okay, and I have not done this in a very long time. But
Just sharp objects.
move your sharp objects. So you're trying to get on, and the more you practice on things like this, the more skilled you get on it, the longer you stay on it, the more you can do when you're on it, right? So once you're up, and if you really practice and this would be really easy for you, then you can, do things on it as you...
I think it's possible for me to do that, but I can do this part.
You can do that part. Yeah. So using it as so sit up tall to begin with, So you're right on your sit bone, so back up a little more, and then keep your knee bent. So it's just hold it off it, and then you're going to move things around. And then the only thing you want to watch is that you're not leaning back as you go up. So you really want to feel like you're on your sit bones the whole time. So you're back here. And again, you've got to activate your torso muscles to help you as you go through there. Yeah. And then in a tabletop position, so your head's going to rest on the ball, and then you can do overhead pulls, you can do chest presses. Yeah. You could also do your feet lift off the ground one at a time, not very high, just a tiny little lift as you go. And then bands are great for offering us resistance. We saw the one out to the side of the legs, but you can also put them on your feet and pull them side to side. You can pull them up and then balance, and just holding the balance, you're activating a lot of muscles at the same time, and you're trying to stay in that upright posture. So my left foot is really gripping the floor to keep me balanced on here. All right, so just on the toes. Yeah, so posture set, looking straight ahead. Engage. Yeah, and try not to lean back. So you're going to try to be in that nice solid position. Squeeze your butt and rib cage down and abs braced. Go. And just hold it there. Yeah, try not to lean back. Yeah. So sometimes when we weight train, strength train, and we're using a lot of machines that hold us up.
Keep us in that one.
Leg press, leg extensions, chest presses when we're on a plate, pushing, those kinds of machines are great for starting people out. They're awesome to get people going and still are good to build strength. But the machine is directing your angle of pull and push. And so if you are in those machines frequently, then we want to encourage some of these things. If you are already doing functional training where you're using balls and bands and cables and TRX straps, dumbbells, kettlebells, well, you are being forced to balance a lot of the times when you're doing functional work, which is what we do in here. You won't see a lot of big machines in here because we're trying to get people to work a lot of different muscles at the same time. So as you see, when you lift that, you're working different muscles. And when you hold in place, you can put other things in your hand as well to make those things activate more even.
Karate Kid.
Karate Kid, yeah. So there's some fun little ways to throw into your home-based workout at the gym. To kind of bring in that other element. to make your quality of living outside of the gym, particularly well when we age and we are declining potentially in strength.
Especially like say that one bad fall,
Yeah.
and you can't catch yourself, that could change your whole
Oh,
life going forward,
yeah,
right?
it's completely
Where
trajectory.
you're enjoying your grandkids to where you're,
Yeah,
they're helping you around.
that's exactly true. Yeah. So, yeah.
An investment in yourself.
An investment in yourself, for sure. And it doesn't take a lot of different, you don't have to have all.
this stuff at home with like small.
You very could, yep. And you don't have to have
It's the guidance
those
that would
things.
help though too, right? So.
Yeah, it's always good to make sure you have some instruction to know what to do, but also it's the practicing. It's like showing up and being consistent. And we talk about that all the time when you and I get together for these little bits, is that crushing it once in a while, not the answer. So show up consistently average, that will turn into
Compounding effect.
yes, because over time, if you're consistent, average turns into above average turns into good, then you're really good, and all of a sudden one day you're just like smashing it, right? So we always want to be consistent with everything that we choose to do around our health and wellness, for sure. Yeah.
Thank you for that. And if you're looking for some balance and some help, Team Fitness.
Yes, we're here.
Right here on Tut Street.
On Tut Street in Pandosy
You
Village.
have a website, Team Fitness.
BC.com. Yes.
FitnessBC.com?
Yeah. Yeah. So next time, we're coming into the studio and we're going to talk about training in perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause. Talk to our women out there who are changing, their bodies are changing. They're still doing a lot of the workout styles that they used to do. So we're going to try and give them some education, which is also great for men to know about as well, so they can help understand what their partners are going through in this change with their bodies. But sometimes it can feel really hopeless, and we're learning so much more about women's health around this stage of life because we're now doing studies on women instead of men. So, I mean, we're still doing studies on men, but they, for decades,
Yeah.
they literally have done women's health studies on men and male rats, and in fact,
Right.
not women. So,
Makes sense.
yeah. So things that work for men do not necessarily work for women, a lot of them. So, yeah. So thanks for being my guinea pig today.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay.
And thank you for watching KelownaNow.